is going on? All right. Today, I'm going to tackle, actually, in general, with this whole series I'm going to do. Um, I'm basically, since nobody reads or researches anything, um, yet want to tell people who do read and research that they don't have an understanding of what it is that they're reading and researching. I'm going to help people out, okay? Because um, there's something called intellectual hubris, that people believe that what they believe, right? Not what they know, what they believe, um, is true. And if they don't know it, then it's not true, right? And that's a fallacy, right? That's like using sophistry. Um, and the use of sophistry is usually used to purposefully mislead or deceive someone, right? And I know that in most cases, when I'm having conversations with people and they use fallacies, it's not because they're trying to deceive me. It's because they have cognitive dissonance, and mm, they don't want to believe that these things could be true. It's outside of the realm of their belief or understanding. Okay, so I'm going to start easy today. Okay, today I'm going to speak about our constitutional right to travel. Now, I've been telling people for years now, there is no law stating that we need a driver's license to sojourn or travel on the roads as we please, as long as we're not impeding or harming anyone else, um, you know, driving ridiculously or anything like that, right? It's a constitutional right. I've been trying to tell people this, okay? And, everyone says, that's not true. Everybody knows you got a driver's license. Everybody knows you got a driver's license. Okay? That's one of the universal truths that isn't a universal truth. The only reason people get driver's license and registration is because we're told we're supposed to. That's it. We're told we're supposed to. So we do it. And they will ticket you unlawfully. They will pull you over unlawfully. They will detain you unlawfully. They will do all these things to you. And you say, well, yeah, because they're the authorities. Okay, the only reason they do these things to you is because you don't know your rights and you don't know the laws. And I heard a judge with his own mouth say, it is not the responsibility of the courts or any of its officers to teach you your rights. That is your responsibility. It's not their responsibility. So if someone gets over on you, or if someone does something to you and you don't fight it or you just go along with it, that's on you. That's on you. Like, they're not going to sit here and be like, oh, okay, well, we weren't supposed to do this. So no, because all these courts are accounts receivable for the British Crown. They're all owned by the British Crown. They're foreign corporations. Okay. We'll get to that another time. Now, for our right to travel, okay, is an unalienable right. Unalienable right. Got it. And so here you see U.S. Supreme Court and other high court citations. So this is case law that I'm about to show you. Now, case law is important. Sorry for my voice. I've been coaching. Case law is important because if there is a Supreme Court case or another case that has a ruling in a certain direction on whatever the topic may be, right? That ruling can be used in reference when if you have a case. Okay. So it's like it helps give you a shortcut or a boost for your case, whatever it may be, if it falls in line with this, right? Now, I used to be an understanding that it was pretty much law if that was the case. But there's always stipulations, right? Like if it's the exact same thing, well, yeah, of course, because it's the same thing, right? It's already been ruled. But if there's smaller stipulations within your case that differ from, whatever that case law may be, of course, there's going to be differences, right? But that being said, the idea and the right to travel and sojourn anywhere that we please freely on the highways and byways, come and go, as long as we are not operating in commerce. that is a right, not a privilege. So if a cop tells you driving is a privilege, not a right, you let them know that they're wrong. And you can show them this video if you like. So, as you see here, the U.S. Supreme Court and other high court citations proving that no license is necessary for normal use of an automobile on common ways. Okay? The right of a citizen to travel on the public highways and to transport his property goodness gracious, thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile is not merely a privilege which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but a common right which he has under his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under the constitutional guarantee, one may, therefore, under normal conditions, travel at his inclination along the public highways or in public places, and while conducting himself in an orderly and decent manner, neither interfering with nor disturbing another's rights, he will be protected not only in his person, but in his safe conduct. I mean, honestly, I don't even have to go on. Like that right there states completely the fact of the matter. But here's one thing that people don't get and don't understand. Okay, there may be a term you've heard. It's called legalese. Okay, legalese is actually a language. Okay, um, it's not just like like a nickname for something that lawyers talk. No, no, it's an actual language that runs parallel to the English language. So this language, when you're looking at the Constitution, you're looking at our laws and statutes and policies. Okay, they play an important part, an important role that most people don't understand because we understand English. Okay, so when we see a word that looks like an English word, we say, "Oh, well, that's the same thing," right? Or if there's a word that we use that we think means one thing in English, but it means something completely different in legalese. So you'll see right here in this section of the first sentence, the right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and transport his property there by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile. Okay. Now, do you notice it does not say the right of a citizen to drive by a horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or motor vehicle? There's a reason for that. Okay. And there's a reason the place that we get our license from is called the Department of Motor Vehicles. Okay. If you are driving a motor vehicle, then that makes the assumption to the courts, to police officer. If you have a driver's license, that makes the assumption that you are operating your vehicle for commerce. And what that means is operating something for commerce. I don't know if I have it on here. When you're operating something in commerce, that means for business, right? Like for profit. So if you're not operating for profit, let's say, for business, right? Like for business, if you're operating for business and you're making money from it, Uber, Lyft, if you have a business, I don't know, delivering flowers or whatever it may be, then yes, you must have a driver's license because you're operating in a commercial capacity. Okay. But if you are if you are traveling, okay. Oh, here we go, right here. Here we go, right here. Okay. Motor vehicle. Okay. The term motor vehicle. This is American Mutual Liability Insurance Company versus Chapo. Okay. Again, case law, right? United States, Part 1, Chapter 2, Section 3, Section 31. This is under definitions. The term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other conveyance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on highways. That is a motor vehicle. Okay, so the Department of Motor Vehicles deals with a mode of conveyance that is drawn by mechanical power and it's used for commercial purposes. Okay. Used for commercial purposes means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other consideration, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. Okay. So motor vehicle or automobile for hire is a motor vehicle other than an automobile stage used for transportation of persons which remunerate information is received. Okay. So if I'm driving to go to the grocery store to pick up groceries for my family and I'm not making any profit off of it, I'm not driving a motor vehicle. Right? My automobile is not a motor vehicle at that point. My automobile is my mode of conveyance, and it is my private property. So no one can stop me or tell me that I can't drive it. I don't have to have a license for it. It's actually unlawful to say that I have to have a license for it. Okay, so if we go back up, let's see, American Jurisprudence Constitutional Law, Section 329, on page 1135, Thompson versus Smith, the right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon in the ordinary course of life and business is a common right, which he has under the right to enjoy life, liberty, to acquire, possess property, and to pursue happiness and safety. It includes the right, in so doing, to use the ordinary and usual conveyances of the day and under the existing modes of travel, includes the right to drive a horse-drawn carriage or wagon thereon, or to operate an automobile thereon for the usual and ordinary purposes of life and business. Okay, it is a right. It is a right. You cannot. There's no. It's right here in plain sight. Okay, the right of a citizen to drive on a public street with freedom from police interference is a fundamental constitutional right. If I'm not traveling in commerce, if I'm not making money off it, if I'm going to pick up my kids from school, take them to sports practice, I do not need a driver's license, nor do I need registration. Okay. All of this is case law. Kenesha Mills versus DC, Barbarian versus Lucier. Okay. The right to operate a motor vehicle upon the public streets and highways is not a mere privilege. It is the right of liberty, the enjoyment of which is protected and guaranteed by the federal and state constitutions. Okay. I mean, it's plain as day. But if you don't know these things and you don't bother to read it, then you're only going to believe what people tell you. And the next thing you're going to say was, well, why wouldn't they tell? Why would they tell us that we have to? Because they make money off of it. We pay hundreds of dollars every year for permission. We don't need permission. It's actually unlawful for them to try and make us do that. Okay, but if we do it, that means we're just acquiescing. We're giving them money for nothing. For nothing. Okay. Now again, if you are operating your vehicle in commerce, excuse me, your mode of conveyance in commerce, then that's a different story. Okay. And I understand that, right? I would fully comply with that. But I don't do that. So I don't need a driver's license. It's not necessary. Okay. So let's go down a little bit because I want you to see a couple other things when we're talking about the right to travel. Okay, and here's the main thing. Okay, when we're driving, excuse me, traveling, okay, and we get pulled over, okay, a traffic infraction is not a crime; it's a misdemeanor, right? It's not a crime. Okay, so there is no um, there is no harmed party, right? And if there's no harmed party, and that I can look at and answer to what it is that I did to this person, right? Then it's not a crime. And only crimes can be prosecuted. Okay, if it's a non-crime, then there's no one for me to answer to the crime, right? Then the courts don't have any jurisdiction over me, right? Like first, they shouldn't have pulled me over because I'm not operating in commerce, and second, I didn't commit a crime. So you can't detain me. You can't force me to come to court. And really, you can't make me do anything because you have no jurisdiction over me. Okay. But you have to understand that you have to know your rights. If you don't know your rights or understand your rights, you lose your rights. Period. Period. So, to say, if it doesn't, and I'm not going to take that chance. Well, then you're going to continue to be a slave and keep paying hundreds of dollars a year that you don't have to pay. It doesn't make any sense. You don't need to pay for permission this is a law, right? Like this is case law. So if you're gonna say, well, imagine try that. Okay, let me give you an opportunity to hear it from the horse's mouth. Okay, I don't have a driver's license. My vehicle isn't registered. Okay, I was driving my son to his friend's house for a sleepover. Right, on the way back, I get pulled over. Okay, because of my registration. Now at that time, I still had my old license plate on there with a registration because when I sent my affidavit to the Secretary of State, I let them know that I would keep it on for 30 days. So, for purposes until they remove me from the system, if I did get pulled over, you could identify me or whatnot, right? And so I still had that on me because I hadn't received my response yet. So I get pulled over. The cop comes to comes to the door, and I am full on just officer, right? Like full on giving them the business, right? And it's like, I pulled you over, and I said I don't really answer questions, and she said, well, your tags are expired, and I said, this is correct, and she said, can you give me your license and registration? So I gave her my tribal driver's license because I am a citizen of a tribal republic that I am indigenous to. I gave her my international driver's license, okay, that is recognized in 193 countries. And I gave her my tribal ID. Okay, I did not give her my driver's license. Oddly enough, I didn't have it, but I gave her those three things. And so she was like, "Is there a reason why it's not, you don't have tags?" And I said, yeah, I said again, I don't normally answer questions, but um, out of respect, I said I am no longer. I've removed myself from the jurisdiction of the admiralty courts. I don't operate in commerce, and I don't have any need for any type of licensing with the DMV, the Department of Defense, excuse me, Department of Transportation, um, or anything like that. Like it's not a it's a right to be able to travel as I see fit, as long as I'm not traveling or driving in commerce. And she's like, well, actually, um, driving is a privilege, not a right. And I said, um, actually, it's constitutional right that we can travel and sojourn wherever we please. It's if we're operating in commerce. And she's like, I don't know if that's right. Okay, I'll be right back. So she goes back to the car. So at that point, in my car, I carry a folder, right? I carry a couple folders. One has my documents in it, and it has another one has like all this case law that you're seeing here. And so, she comes back and she was like, okay, so explain to me, what's going on with the registration. I explained to her again, I'm indigenous to this land, and as an indigenous person, I have, I have specific rights, but I do have a driver's license for my tribe, my tribal republic, but I'm no longer, a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, right? Like I'm a national indigenous to this land. So, um, the DMV and like the admiralty courts don't have jurisdiction over me, and I can travel as I see fit. And she was like, okay, you said something about like it was in the Constitution. Like, I don't remember that in the Constitution. And I said, the reason being is because there's more than one Constitution. The Constitution that you were thinking of is the second Constitution, but it does not trump the first Constitution. And so I pulled out my phone. I had it on my phone. And so I showed it to her. Then I had my folder. And I showed it to her and showed her where it was in the Constitution. Then I showed her, and again, and I'm speaking to her with the most respect, right? And, I'm showing her the folder about, all the case law and, the different other definitions like I just showed you. And, she's kind of looking at it and she like, steps back. She's like, huh, well, looks like I got some stuff I need to learn. And since I can't give you a ticket now, here's your documents. Get home safely. I said, thank you. I appreciate your patience and, being respectful. I hope I was to you and have a good night. And I drove off on my way. So this isn't something that I'm making up. Oh, well, no, internet, bro. No, bruh. If you decide not to live your life the way God intended you to, and to ask permission, pay for permission to travel when you don't need to, and waste your money, at this point, I can't do anything to help you to understand that it is law. It is law. Okay, this is case law. that has been passed. People went to court in front of a judge, okay, in front of a jury of their peers, and this is the results of that. Okay, here's the number one thing you need to remember in all this. This Supreme Court case right here, Marbury versus Madison. The Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. Any in conflict is null and void of law. If any statute, policy, regulation contradicts the Constitution of the United States, which is the supreme law of the land, it is null and void. It cannot be enforced. It cannot be charged for fees. It cannot be charged anything. It is null and void. It cannot be enforced. Okay? So you cannot at all tell me that I cannot drive or, travel or sojourn where I please without a license and have read and looked at this. Okay. If you decide you don't want to do it, that's fine. Okay. But now you know that there is no law saying that we have to have a license, and it's actually unlawful. It's actually unlawful. Where is that? Hold on, let me show you that real quick. It is unlawful to make someone have a driver's license. Not a vehicle for purposes. Is it done already? Is it? Let's see. The state arbitrarily. Oh, yeah, it is right. Okay. Can the state arbitrarily convert a secured liberty, the right to travel, into a privilege and issue a license and fee for it? No. Nope. No state may convert a secured liberty into a privilege and issue a license or fee for it. Okay. That means it's illegal. You cannot do it. It's not lawful. Okay. So if someone tries to do that and force you, okay, if you don't pay, I'm gonna get my driver's license, I'm gonna get my registration. Like I'm not right now. Okay. They keep sending me these things in the mail. Nope. And if you try to do anything to me in concerns to that, I will sue. I will sue the bonds of the court. And I guarantee you, whoever sent me that note, okay, once I tell them I'm hitting their bond, then they're going to change real quick because they work on fear. They don't think people know, and they don't think people will stand up and say something. They think we're done. Okay? And for the most part, we are, because we continue to do this. I don't understand it. Okay? Now that you know and have the knowledge, will you continue to do that and waste your money? I hope not.